Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Race Face Drive-In 5, right back here on raceface.tv. As always, I'm Jacob Seelman, your host. We've got Cole Denton back on the podcast with us. And as you can see from his video background, he is coming off getting a chance to run and finish off his Legend Car season during last weekend's Asphalt Nationals at Dominion Raceway. Cole, you had the chance to run for a national championship. We've talked about it a couple times this year. That was never even in the dream bucket when this all started. Before we even talk about the full results, what was just the emotions and the experience like of Asphalt Nationals and just being there with a shot to be one of the drivers crowned a national champion?
It was kind of a dream come true for legend car racing, and it's nothing like winter nationals or spring nationals. You'd think the racing would be a lot like it, or the people there, but it was just so exciting to be there and have a shot at it. And the amount of competition and the level of it was, it felt unreal. I mean, there's six or seven of us running identical speeds, and my crew chief said, Noah, he said, you just gotta want it more than the guy in front of you when you're that equal. And it's just, it's really awesome to be able to have a shot at the national championship. And to finish second is really amazing.
And that's exactly where we were going to get to. So, a couple of things to note from the weekend. You started on the front row, which I know was a huge deal. That was one of your goals going in. Ended up finishing fifth out of 28 cars in the feature, which equated to second in points. And I'll get into why that was in a second. But I know for you, maybe the biggest goal or biggest check mark that you guys were able to accomplish was actually having the fastest single lap of anybody in the final feature, which I know you told me is a big, big deal.
That's one thing that I always love about racing is beating my best time. And that was my second best lap of the weekend, but it was the fastest in the race. And Noah asked me like short run, long run, loose, tight. I'm like really, really tight so it can be good on the long run because that place, the longer you go, once you get to about lap 10, if you're perfect from lap 2 to 10, you're going to be sliding all over the rest of the race. So we started out with a really, really tight car and then finished with pretty much perfect. So it was either one short run or long run, and that was what we had to decide. And it was pretty close at the end.
Well, and like you said, you would expect the racing to have been like, Winter Nationals or Spring Nationals, where you usually see just a ton of caution flags. But you guys actually had at least one run that was a pretty substantial green flag run. I know there were cautions, but it wasn't quite as all on top of each other as maybe we were expecting.
I mean, it wasn't. The racing was really, really close. Winter Nationals, actually, in Young Lions, we only had a couple cautions a race. And like race one at Winter Nationals, there was only one caution, I think. So, I mean, it was a lot like Winter Nationals racing, but a lot faster and really no way to get an edge over somebody who's in front of you that's the same speed as you. And it was really, really close, especially because we hit the chip so much that you can't get an edge to dive it in or something like that. And it's just so close on that high banking. You're rolling the corners at close to 70 miles per hour. So it's super close and you can't do anything.
Well, and to add to that, I know the way the restart shook out, you kind of got pinned on the high side a couple of times, and you talked about it where the speeds are so equal. If you can't make the move on the restart, because you're on the inside, then you get stuck, and by the time you get down in line, because the speeds are so equal, like you said, you just can't catch somebody to make a pass.
Right. And there wasn't a lot of wrecks either. And sure we had a couple red flags, but we didn't have a bunch of cautions on top of that. Like the couple wrecks we had were red flags because of how high speed the track is, and the second you get loose or something, you're in the wall. So there really wasn't a lot of cautions as much as there was reds because every wreck was basically it's going to be a red flag because of how fast the place is. So instead of like two or three cautions, it was two or three red flags, if you know what I'm saying. but it was really, really good racing, and everybody was racing pretty respectful. And I thought it was really fun. And the way the racing was, you could go side by side. Sure, you get hung out if you're on the top after lap two of a restart, but you would be able to have fun and race how you should. And that was one thing that was really nice about Dominion.
Did you feel like if you had gotten one or two restarts where you could have started on the bottom, that your car was good enough to be able to make those moves if you'd had the right position?
I think so. I think if I would have had probably two restarts on like third or fifth, I would have been able to get up there and compete for the title.
So, and the way it ended, Keelan Harvick, who actually started behind you, which was one of the things, like you said, getting pinned on the outside just made it a little difficult. Keelan ended up winning the race to win the championship, but you finished fifth on track, but second among the four of you that came in tied for the title. So you end up second in points behind the son of a NASCAR Cup Series champion. And this, we've talked about it before. This is a family team. It's you, your mom, and your dad, and when you're at the racetrack, you've got Noah helping as your crew chief. So it's not like there's big dollars and 10, 15 people helping you guys. So what you were able to do, not just Saturday, but really throughout the season, I mean, maybe people don't understand just how big of a deal that actually is.
Well, I mean, 77 Speed Shop, they've given me a great car every race, and it's a really big deal to be able to go from winning a bunch of races in Georgia to being able to compete for a national title at Dominion and be there right at the end. And one thing that was crazy about that is so many laps, it was either you had to have a super fast short run car and be good on restarts, or you had to have a super fast long run car, and there really was no in between. Like if your
Mhm.
car's good lap 5 to 20, great job on the crew chief, because that's really how the racing was. And it was just it was almost like you can't do anything except for on a restart. And if
Mhm.
you're on the bottom, that's great because you could be able to get that extra speed being on the bottom on the first turn, and then it'd even out again. So it was really, really close, and it's a huge accomplishment.
You wrap up the season now with your 46 car on the real track. I have to anticipate, knowing you like I do, that now's when you flip the switch to school, yes, but when you're not in the race car, probably a whole lot more iRacing for the next couple of months.
Definitely. And I'm gonna get caught back up on school because we've been missing a 2 weeks because went to Dominion for a weekend, which basically a whole week because of how
Mhm.
long it takes to get up there. And my dad and grandma drove this time. Me and my mom flew because we didn't want to have to sit in a car for 24
Right.
hours again. So it's been great and super excited to get back on iRacing and run a league I'm in, and I just made it to the final four in one of those
Nice.
leagues. So I'm super excited. We're back home and just gonna keep racing.
Cup car for the Final Four or different
Sure
vehicle?
is Cup
Nice,
car.
nice. And we talked about that too a little bit, that in a little bit different way, you kind of got the experience to what we're going to see with the guys on track here in a couple weekends when they go to Phoenix to crown the champions in the top three series. So you kind of got the chance to sit behind the wheel of your own car and know a
Well,
little bit of what that pressure's like.
something funny. Actually, they in this league they have it at Homestead still.
Nice.
I made it to the Final Four by finishing good at Phoenix and Pocono and Charlotte. The hardest part was getting. So they do brackets,
Mhm.
and it's best two out of three. And that was one thing that was really crazy about it, is because the last race of both two out of three races was Talladega and Bristol. So if you weren't
Oh
locked in,
boy.
you're gonna have like hardly no chance of making it.
The survival of the fittest at that point,
Yes,
or last man standing, I guess I should say. But
basically.
before we let you go, Cole, and obviously we'll keep in touch with you over the next couple months. We're going to keep doing driving fives through the off season with everybody, but give a shout out to the sponsors and team members, everybody that's made this Legend Car season possible for you. 26 wins, 22 poles, and out of 41 races, you were in the top 10 for all but three of them. So, I mean, you talk about consistency. You couldn't have done a whole lot better than what you did. And I know there's so many people that go into that.
Yes, sir. And I want to thank my mom and dad, my grandparents, and my whole family for helping me, and hotels, everything that was possible. And I want to thank 77 Speed Shop, Mr. Scott, and Noah, and Sam, and Mr. Doug Stevens, everybody on 77 Speed Shop that helps me and gave me a super fast car this year. Matt Jones Motorsports, the Friends of Jacqueline Foundation, Race Face Brand Development, and most importantly, God.
Now, don't go saying Doug Stevens' name too loudly. I know Doug really, really well. We we can't go giving him too much credit. I say kidding, of course. Doug's a great, great guy.
Yes, sir. He really is.
Yeah, and I'm sure you know this from being able to pick his brain some. Doug's one of those that drove a legend car for years and years and years and years before he started teaching other people. So that's a sponge that as long as you can squeeze and get knowledge out of him, definitely keep doing it.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's Cole Denton, fresh off Asphalt Nationals at Dominion Raceway. My name's Jacob Seelman. Keep it tuned here next time for another Race Face Drive in 5 and visit raceface.tv every day for all the latest in motorsports across the globe.